Good morning.
Good morning, everybody. Don Snyder and Stephen DeLuca coming back to you with episode 2 of Headline Digest. We're here to bring you all of the most important headlines from the week as they relate to mortgages and housing, both on a national and a local level. So I'm going to turn this over right away to Stephen. We're going to start talking about what's happening right now on a national level.
All right. We just had some big news this morning as it impacts interest rates and the market directly, and that is the ADP non-farm payroll came out this morning, and we were expecting about 175,000 new jobs to be added, and we missed by quite a big mark, and we only added 75,000 jobs in May. So the market's having a big reaction to that today. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up over 1%, and the reason that the stock market has increased, even though we have this news that is disappointing for the addition of jobs, the stock market is rallying because it is anticipating that the Federal Reserve might jump in and potentially cut interest rates. That's what the market is reacting to right now. So what this means for us in an interest rate environment is that there's growing pressure and a growing feeling in the market that the Fed may jump in and cut rates. And so that was kind of the news throughout the week, is that there's been more and more of a feeling that the Federal Reserve might jump in and cut rates. So that's why we're seeing the stock market react this morning, because the miss on payroll may or may not mean that the Fed needs to jump in and cut interest rates. So there's about a 30%.
Let me ask you a question on that, though. Okay, so we know that earlier in this week, the Fed came out, and I mean, they didn't openly say that they were going to drop rates if the tariffs had a negative impact on the economy, but they said that they were prepared to respond appropriately to keep our expansion going. Do you think that, the miss on jobs causing a positive reaction in the stock market has to do with those comments? And how do you think those two things are related?
I absolutely think they're related because I think the market is reacting based on what the Federal Reserve said earlier this week. And so with a little bit of the door open now from the Federal Reserve that rates could be cut, I think the market is saying, right on, we just missed on this jobs report. I bet the Fed's going to jump in. And of course, they're going to meet on June 18th. And so now the market's feeling, the most recent thing I read was about 30%. They're feeling about 30% certain that the Fed may drop rates. So I think that's why we're seeing the market reaction today.
Wow, 30% is a big number.
That's grown. That's definitely grown. So we will see what happens. What does this mean for everybody buying houses? It still means that, like we pointed out last week, where we're at for interest rates, they're spectacularly low and remain that way. So it's an amazing time from the cost of your money standpoint and where interest rates are, that it looks like we're going to at least remain flat and possibly now decrease throughout the course of the year. So call it good news, bad news, mixed news. It'll be really interesting to see what plays out in the coming weeks, especially with the Federal Reserve meeting on June 18th. So we will see what happens. But for now, rates remain awesome. And so it's a great time for buying because of how cheap the cost of money is.
Right. So affordability is still, it's there.
It's absolutely there.
Yeah, it might be improving too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so on a more local level, a lot of news coming out of Spokane this week. So that's super exciting to talk about. And everything that I'm seeing is, for the most part, really good and exciting stuff. We had a double rainbow.
Oh, look at that.
How awesome is that? It was actually kind of fun. I don't spend a lot of time on Facebook, right? But seeing all of these photos of the double rainbow from literally every possible angle was pretty rad. Definitely enjoyed that. But on a more serious note, This study came out this week saying Washington and Idaho are among the top 10 states with the best economies. Washington actually topped or came close to the top of a number of different metrics. And this one was put out by WalletHub. I looked at their methodology on the study, and it looked pretty solid. Everything was rated on a 100-point scale. And our total score right there was 77.6. So, pretty good stuff. I mean, people already know Washington's a great place to move to, but this is just, helping drive that point home. So we came in at number 1 for the highest GDP growth. Super excited about that, right? And that's something, too, that we're feeling the effects of in Spokane as our economy continues to grow.
What does that mean for everybody that's thinking about coming into Washington and that may be uneasy about the overall health of the economy? Because this sounds like pretty good news to me.
Right, it's fantastic news. I mean, so GDP growth, it's gross domestic product, so it's the total of things sold in the state in a given period of time. When the GDP is growing, that means that our local economies are growing in aggregate. So it's not to say that every city in Washington is seeing an increase.
But this shows that our state's number 1, according to WalletHub.
Exactly, which, not a bad place to be. Also in local news, oh, come on, headlines, get out of my way. Violent crime and property crime are down in Spokane, right? So, I don't think there's anywhere that's not concerned about their violent crime rate. But, how fantastic is that? And by pretty big numbers, too.
Well, especially because all of us know that we kind of have a bad rap for that. So the more headlines we get about it decreasing, the better.
Right, exactly. Which, actually, you know what? Hold on. I'm going to go out of order here. I'm going to bring up something I was going to say for the end. Just because this one just gets to me. So I'm going to get up on a soapbox here, right? Did anybody read that Seattle Times article claiming that Spokane can't compete with Seattle? Do you have a chance to see that?
Ridiculous. Absolutely.
The smugness of that author really just got under my skin. And, the thing is, he's not wrong about everything in there, right? He points out that a couple of important factors. One of them is that Spokane does have a higher unemployment rate than the state or the national average. Of course, Mayor Condon fires back and says, well, isn't that a good thing for companies wanting to relocate and actually have a good labor force?
Yeah.
So, unemployment right now, 3.6% nationally, which is below the natural rate of unemployment, which is where they say, that's a healthy rate.
Which is 4%, right?
It is, right. So, I feel like that's actually not necessarily a bad thing. He did talk about crime rates and homelessness, and they don't have a problem with homelessness. But then right on the heels of that, we're coming out with violent crime and property crime are down in Spokane. Okay, so you can take that stereotype and see that we're doing a lot to change that, right? To better our city. And what city hasn't had to come up from a place that they don't want to be and aspire to greatness through incremental action?
Absolutely.
And then this one, too. I was super excited. I just saw this one this morning. The Spokane police are going to turn 5 West Central nuisance homes into affordable housing, right? These are a blight on that area, and an area that's actually seeing a lot of great expansion right now.
That's great news for the area as it continues to turn around.
Right. So it's going to be affordable housing. What could be better than turning an abandoned house into a place that a good family can live?
And it's good to see that the city's taking initiative. So
right.
It's not just private investors or flippers, or that the city's actually paying attention and putting some money into this. So really encouraging.
Absolutely. And then of course, the homelessness is always a topic of conversation. I'm not going to get political about it at all, but I will point out...
We're not doing a video series on homelessness.
Exactly. But, the SPD is making a concerted effort. There's 2 big headlines on this today. So one of them is that this levy that passed earlier in the year that didn't have really clearly defined goals raised $5.8 million for public safety, right? And what do we have here? We're adding 2 homeless outreach officers. We're adding 3 property crimes detectives. So again, attacking the root of the problem of, some things that we've been criticized for, sometimes fairly, sometimes unfairly. And putting a lot of effort and money and planning into those problems. And then add to it this pilot program that they've got to help improve response to illegal camps in Spokane. They've reduced, they typically respond to 40 camps a month, and in May they responded to nearly 200, and they've reduced the time to respond by several days. So, again, super exciting news. And then let's end on a happy note, right? So, dude, the amount of public art in Spokane. How many murals do you think we have, just within a few blocks?
I don't know, but I'm seeing more and more, especially in areas where it's kind of surprising, like under Altamont, the bridge there. I know that's been redone several times. It's beautiful now.
Right. It's incredible. It makes it a pleasure to drive around, especially in areas that didn't used to be at all.
Well, especially because, the statistics are out there on what graffiti does to property values. So this is a good way.
Since you mentioned it, Stephen.
Maybe I read ahead.
Okay, so from Pocket Sets right here. According to National Association of Realtors, property located within a community where graffiti is are going to lose 15% of the value.
That's huge.
And if it's profane or hateful, the property owner can expect to lose up to 25% of the home's value.
That is massive.
It's incredible.
And it's really sad because the homeowner can't control what's going on. But if there's more efforts from local artists and the city's behind it.
Right. We can cover it up. We can create incredible murals. And, this city is full of it. And I'm excited about that. I love it. And then I'll point out, too, just to flip that statistic on its head, to talk about why public art matters. This is from AmericansForTheArts.org. Absolutely, number one is economic growth and stability. Attachment and cultural identity. One of the things that Spokane's been working on, right, is to create a sense of place here so that, there are neighborhoods, there are, pocket communities within Spokane, and creating this public art is a good way to really push that along.
It's good for the city.
It really is. So that's what I've got. Is that everything for you?
That is it.
All right, awesome.
Have a great weekend, everyone, and we will talk to you next week.
Absolutely. And, of course, everything we've said here is our own opinion. But hopefully what we're sharing with you is making a difference. We're going to pop that up to end this. And, have a great week. We'll see you back here next Friday.
See ya.